We're gonna react to Joel Seedman's world record bench press, and we're gonna start right now. And I want to say this, I think Joel Seedman, from my experience of communicating with other people, I think he might be like one of the most polarizing, I don't want to say hated, but most polarizing coaches in the world of fitness. And I think it probably goes back to him speaking in 100% absolutes. Like there's, in his realm or in his copy, when he's writing these posts on Instagram or wherever, there's no gray area. It is 100% what I'm saying is absolute fact, and anything else that goes against what I'm saying is wrong. And I think that's probably where the polarization comes from. And I think that's the overarching issue, I think, with anything, right? Anything where there's like this very distinct absolute. I've gotten that myself because I've talked negatively about, deadlifts, right? Now, I have come back and said, hey, deadlifts are really good for fitness. I don't think they're really good for sports performance. It's still a good lift in general, but there's other ways to skin the cat that I think are a little bit more effective, but you can still deadlift and be an elite level athlete. And I think that that's one lesson that I've learned from just sort of following Joel. But at the same time, what's wild is he's also just sort of come out and said the reason why he does this absolute discussion or absolute copy is because it draws in attention and it gets people to talk about him. Here I am talking about Joel Seedman. So he posts a video. He's doing sort of like a glute bridge or a 90-degree glute bridge on a box, which he's doing a bench press down to about 90 degrees, and he's got 200 pounds on the bar. But it's 200 pounds on an earthquake bar, sort of shaking all over the place. He hits one rep and then he claims that that's the world record. Initially, I had a couple thoughts. One, at the end of this video, you're gonna be able to see when I attempt this exercise, what happens, okay? Two, my thought was, what's the lens that he's doing this exercise for, okay? What is he trying to accomplish? When you've got an unstable exercise, the load will not be as high. We won't be able to see, 500, 600 pounds. On the surface, the mechanical tension that we would want to happen, or that what we would want to be placed on our body, won't happen to as high of a degree, which will decrease potentially the level of hypertrophy. Now, if we're not looking for hypertrophy and we're just looking for straight, stabilization or doing something with an unstable object, that can increase our neuromuscular awareness, just like when we walk on PVC pipes and do stuff like that. And this is another factor actually, is that I want to also express, I've stolen a lot of exercises from Joel Seedman. I steal a lot of exercises from a lot of people on social media, but I actually have a full-blown training system, so I know where I can pull and plug with those specific movements. So he is very creative. Now, going back to this bench press discussion is, what's the purpose of it? I'm assuming he's using this to light up his nervous system and try and recruit and be stable in his trunk, be stable in his glutes at the same time, be stable in his quads, have strong hip extension while he's driving with those elbow flexors and with his pecs. And so it's really, he's turning this bench press into a full body bench press. All right, so let's actually look at this lift. You can see all the kettlebells that are hanging off of that bar. Okay, so let's go back to this. As far as I know, this is a world record. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so God gets all the glory from answering his prayers. Tens of thousands of folks are reporting similar results. Okay, so great comeback. He claims that when he was in his 20s, he was essentially debilitated, but 90-degree training and stuff like this solved all of his issues. And other people are reporting similar results. So I guess I can't deny that. I don't know. Maybe he was in severe pain. He says that full range of motion training basically ruined his entire movement patterns and things like that. But now here he is doing the banded or unstable bench press. And that's gonna be essentially what leads him to the promised land because of how well and how stable he is able to be now throughout his joints. He only goes to 90 degrees and he uses a lot of off weight, offset stuff and a lot of unstable training. So that's great work. Now, the biggest question that I have is, one, I really, to a point, would challenge, like, is full range of motion training going to totally destroy someone's joints? Have I seen that? No. In fact, a lot of our athletes here stay really, really, really healthy at garage strength, and we use full range of motion training all the time. We also use partial range of motion training. We also use banded stuff like that. We do a lot of crazy stuff. We use a lot of reflexive work. We do a lot of plyometric work. Do I ever see someone potentially get hurt? For sure. But usually they're getting hurt in the realm of competitive sports performance, and it's typically going to be some acute issue where they might have something crazy happen out on a football field or in a wrestling match or something along those lines. Or if we have someone who's like a swimmer or a thrower, you might see something chronic develop over time from a lot of releases on the elbow for, let's say, a shot putter, or a lot of shoulder issues in swimmers. Now, we try to deal with these things and alleviate that stress by doing full range of motion movements, and we do that with pretty decent success. Let's get back to the bench press. My main goal was that I wanted to see if indeed that was the world record. And then another thing that I wanted to do is that one question I have for Joel, and again, I think it's his system, that he does what he does, and everybody knows that what his stuff is. If he's training this way all the time, he should be the strongest person with this style of training. I don't ever personally train this way. I train full range of motion. I lift very heavy at times. I lift very light at times, but I go full range of motion. So in my mind, I shouldn't, if my training system of full range of motion work isn't effective, I shouldn't be capable of doing something that he's able to do, or at least I shouldn't be able to match that. Otherwise, to me, his training doesn't transfer as well to his movements in comparison to my style of training. So we go downstairs and let's see what happens.
Let's show the world record. That's called 230 lb. 230. Not me, the bar. 220.1.
Come on.
Get the hell out of here. That's my world record.
Okay, so I just hit 230. That's my world record, 230. Now we're gonna try and extend that world record to 260. Let's redo this.
You ain't got a world record. That's my world record.
We call this the show dip. This is a world record show dip. We only want to go to 90 degrees. I just pinched my nipple. It's a little cumbersome. Well, that's 2 world records on the day.
All right, so first, I went down, I hit 230 pounds. That was my fourth set of doing this. I have done a video where I trained like Joel Seedman for a week, but I have not done any of this sort of shake stuff in a really, really long time. I've actually just been going running and lifting full range of motion here and there, doing some bodybuilding stuff, nothing like overly athletic. So I smoked 230, which was 30 pounds over his world record, his world record. He stated that he weighed 190 pounds. I weighed 220 the day that I did this. I'm now 219 actually. So, I mean, it's almost exactly 30 pounds over. So I decided, you know what, let's just make a 30-pound jump. Let's try to get to 260. And so when I put on 260, you know, I didn't have a spotter. This is like the fifth set probably that I'm actually doing this exercise, so I'm not well skilled with it. And again, we got to think about one thing I'm going to give Joel is that, so co-contractions can silence noise in a joint and they can make the joint more stable. This specific style of training will elicit a great response with co-contractions. Now, there's other ways that we can do that. I haven't been doing full range of motion weightlifting movements, and I know he doesn't really like that, but Joel, I would challenge you. I would do a jump off with you. I'll sprint against you. And I still think that I could beat you in everything that we would be testing, which would prove out my system over your system, or maybe it would just prove out I'm more athletic, so maybe that's not of value. Anyway, let's just go back to this. If we're watching this, I'm a little shaky when I take it off the rack, and I go a little bit past 90 degrees. I have a real easy press on the way up. Again, a little bit past 90 degrees. I try and hold that 90 degrees with my hips squeezing and extending, and then I proclaim that world record is now indeed mine. So, I think looking through this lens, what we've got to do is, one, take Joel with a grain of salt. I think he's extraordinarily creative. I think he does a good job on social media. I don't like his absolute discussions. It's just very cringy to me, but he does a great job promoting himself. He does a great job promoting his athletes that are inside of his camp. And again, I have stolen a lot of exercises from him, but I think it comes back to the lens of, will this style of training give you the most amount of mechanical tension? I don't think so. Will it give you the most amount of even neurological stimulus, neural drive? I think it does to a point, but I don't think it is the absolute best way. If it was the best way, I don't think I would be able to go in and press 60 pounds more than him on the exact same movement without ever really doing this exercise. And I think that's going to be my biggest gripe, is that if that style of training was so effective, why is it that someone who sort of half-ass trains, myself, can smoke that world record by 60 pounds? I think that's something that I personally would like to see answered. If you guys need help with your overall programming and you want to do some full range of motion work, head over to peakstrength.app. You can pick up our app today where we have all programs designed specifically to your needs. You can put in the type of equipment, the number of days that you're going to be training, the date that you need to peak for, and even the exact sport that you're training for, so that we can help you become a champion. Because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.